Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday. We are here, and I forgot. While I'm waiting for people to come on, I was doing the Aloha cards, and apparently that got away from me. But anyways, let's see what Aloha we can spread today. Something flipped over. All right. Oh, there's another one. Okay, one more shuffle. All right. Oh, we got a few. And then we'll get into our subject, which is overthinking, social overthinking. So, all right, number one, make time to call and reconnect with an old friend. Make time to call and reconnect with an old friend. Make a reusable utensil kit for your car, just in case, because you never know. Create a playlist of your favorite songs and host a dance party. And that could be a party of one if you don't want to host a party. And write a letter to yourself to open in 1 year. That would be cool, right? Write a letter to yourself to open in 1 year. And here's the thing. When you open it in a year, if you're not where you thought you would be, but you feel like you've made progress anyways, don't be hard on yourself. All right? Don't be hard on yourself, because I think that's where a lot of us trip ourselves up. It's like, well, I thought, but I didn't, and now I'm sad. And we shouldn't be that way. All right? So, good morning, Muddy. You know, my hair looked decent, and then I hit play, and poof. So anyways, sorry, I forgot my coffee. Oh, I put my coffee there ready to go, and I forgot to make it. All right, so today we are going to be talking about social overthinking. I got this from Karma Gaia. Now, I don't know if the site still exists, because when I went to click on to open it, it was not there. And yet here is this email. So, sorry, that's the coffee. But anyways, all right. So I'm just going to read it from there. I actually did write it down, but then it, I got halfway through and I thought, why don't I just shrink the page like I always do? So here we go. Karma Gaia, Karma, Gaia, Gaia. So, like I said, you can look them up. I'm not sure if they're still around or still doing, or if they changed their name or what. But this is what they had to say about social overthinking, and I absolutely think it's a gem. So, thought of the day. Today I choose to observe my thoughts without becoming them. My mind may create stories, but I am the peaceful awareness behind those stories with each gentle return to the present moment. I reclaim my power from overthinking and open myself to the simple joy of being. Now, how many of us are guilty of overthinking? I am. Girl in the back, me. I am way bad at I am terrible at overthinking. And I think social overthinking is kind of a foundation too for people pleasing. So let's talk about that today. Okay, I mean, how many times have we been in a social structure where we feel like we need to Sammy raised her hand too. Wait, did I say good morning, Muddy? I don't know if I did or not. Oh, and I see Terry on. Good morning, Terry. So anyway, social overthinking, right? How many times have we been in a crowded room and we sit there and we go, okay, well, I don't want to be the lone voice, so I'm just going to stay quiet, or I'm not going to say anything, or afraid to speak up. I'm trying to find that balance now, because I've become that person that's gone from one extreme to the other. So now I'm trying to find the middle, where it's like, if it doesn't add to the conversation, which I don't inject anything that doesn't add. But I know there are a lot of people out there who sit there and go, well, I'm just going to add my 2 cents because I want to. You don't always have to. Okay. So, yeah, see Terry too. So Terry raised her hand, her proverbial hand. I know, and I think we all are, right? We want to go with the flow. We don't want to disrupt it. And we don't necessarily have to do that. We can be a part of a group and still have our own opinions. We can be who we want to be. Sometimes, my opinion is not the same as others. So a lot of times I just sit quietly, because, what am I going to do? I don't want to start an argument. I'm just going to sit there. But if I do hear something, I'd be like, oh, come on, guys, really? Did you really think that? And why? So, there's a lot of dynamics that can go to it, but social overthinking is when we just choose to go along, or when we definitely obsess and overthink. Social overthinking, why we obsess about what others think and how to stop. So there is a daily affirmation. We'll read that at the end, but I'll put that in the comments because I did manage to get a screenshot of that. So 5 tips to overcome overthinking. Overcoming overthinking takes practice and patience. Be kind to yourself and don't expect instant results. Now, I know we all want those instant results, right? We sit there and go, come on, why isn't it happening? Like you meditate for 5 seconds and then you open your eyes and go, am I different? No, you are not. But it does take time, because chances are you're going to walk right out the door and do the same thing, right? But here's the thing. Now that you've thought about it, now that it is planted in your mind and it is a seed ready to sprout, you will start thinking about it. It'll be something in the back of your mind that goes, oh, and you'll start noticing these behaviors. So number 1, identify the triggers. Try to identify the situations or thoughts that trigger your overthinking. Challenge your thoughts. When you start overthinking, challenge your thoughts by asking yourself if they are realistic or rational. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is a technique that involves focusing on the present moment without judgment. Focus on solutions. Instead of dwelling on problems, try to focus on solutions. Ask yourself what you can do to solve the problem or improve the situation. Practice gratitude. Focus on the things you're grateful for. Focusing on the things you're grateful for can help shift your focus away from negative thoughts. Try writing down a few things you're grateful for each day. I would recommend doing that before bed, because a lot of times that can help you get stuff out of your head. That can, maybe you had 5 great things happen to you, that day, and there was one bad thing, and that's what you're focused on. And that's in a way social overthinking. Older sibling's not on, but she went through something the other day, which it was bothering her. And it was the reactions of somebody that she was, hanging out with for a little bit, versus what, like what one person would do versus what another person would do. And it kind of left her in the lurch, and she was very upset about that. And she kept overthinking it, and then she kept overthinking, well, what does that other person think of me? And it's just like, don't worry about it. That is not your fault. This was not a situation you could control. So, and on the other person's part, it was a little bit selfish, because this is something that, she does, and they kind of just made it impossible for her to do this. So I know I'm being cryptic, but again, it's not really my story to share, and she's not on, so I can't ask her if I can share it. But it definitely caused her to overthink it, and it drove her nuts. I mean, even this happened like 2 days ago, and the next day she's like, it's still bothering me. And I'm like, you got to let it go. You've got to let it go. You can't hold on to this stuff. What's happened is happened. It's done and over with. Just, you got to let it go. And I know that's hard. I know it's not always easy to just let things go, right? So, social overthinking, why we obsess about what others think and how to stop it. We've all been there, replaying a conversation for hours, imagining what someone really meant by their comment, or crafting the perfect response to an email that probably took the recipient seconds to read. Social overthinking, our tendency to obsessively analyze social interactions, affects nearly everyone at some point. But why does our brain get caught in these exhausting loops? And more importantly now, can we break free? Oh, how can we break free? Sorry, I'm wearing the glasses that aren't really meant for reading, but I like them because they're the black frames. The tortoiseshell ones are the ones that, full vision. But yeah, so if I look like this, it's because the readers are on the bottom. I'm showing my age. But anyways, the evolutionary roots of social anxiety. Okay, here we go. Our ancestors' survival depended on group acceptance. Being rejected from the tribe wasn't just uncomfortable, it was potentially fatal. This evolutionary heritage has left us with brains highly attuned to social threats and constantly monitoring our standing within groups. The brain's default mode network activates more strongly in chronic overthinkers, particularly in social contexts, explains Dr. Sarah Chen, a neuroscientist specializing in social cognition. This creates a hypervigilance that made sense for our ancestors, but causes unnecessary suffering in modern day environments. So, it's kind of a herd mentality, right? We don't need to go along with the herd anymore. For all intents and purposes, we don't live in tribes anymore. Tribes are kind of just each person's family, but, not everybody communes every single day like they did before, where every single person in this family had a job and, that they had to do to make the whole social dynamic functional and work. Now, that doesn't mean we can't be social people. We can be. But I mean, this is why I think a lot of times people who are, I don't want to say lower on the social food chain, but I mean just the quiet ones, right? Why sometimes, we're like, well, why would we get mad at the person who is the social butterfly? Because they're just comfortable in their dynamic. And, maybe we get, but it's really jealousy. It's really jealousy. I have been called a social butterfly. I feel like I've kind of lost those wings for a while, but I'm working on getting them back because I enjoy being a social butterfly. I enjoy, as much as I used to say I'm shy, I'm not sure I'm shy anymore. I mean, I am in certain situations, I'll be honest, but I've kind of moved through the whole overthinking thing and gotten to the point where, well, if you don't like me, you don't have to hang around me because it's not going to remove from my life. Because if you don't like me, chances are you're not kind to me either. And, good morning, Cousin Jeannie. Well, I got 2 cousins on now. Yay. 2 cousins and a muddy. So I'm still missing a sibling. But the hell is she? I woke her up this morning too for this. But anyways, I think, we, instead of being mad at the person who's a social butterfly, take notes. Because I think what it is that, we're so afraid of what people are going to think of us that we choose to be quiet. We choose to be kind of just the wallflower, right? The shadow in the corner that just kind of, laughs or giggles when they think someone says something funny instead of just, being a part of this. If you're at a party, if you're at a group gathering and it was by invitation, people invited you because they like you. You do not need to hide in the corner. You do not need to be wallpaper. Okay? You do not need to be wallpaper. Just enjoy yourself. Just enjoy yourself. Don't worry about what other people think. Because, maybe there are other people there that you don't know and you try to make a joke. And, I can't tell you how many of my jokes go flat. But I'm laughing. And people will kind of look at me. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'm all like, as long as I'm laughing, it must be funny. So, and sometimes they take that as being kind of self-centered, but it's not. You're trying to make light in a moment that's a little bit difficult. All right. And to be honest with you, I am a fan of puns, which for some reason are called dad jokes now. And I don't know why, because as I've mentioned 5,000 times before on the show, my dad hates them. But, in fact, a lot of the dads I know don't like them. But I love puns. They make me laugh. Oh, here's one. My cousin Jeannie and I heard this the other day, or last week. Does Santa have to, I'm trying to remember how they put it. Does Santa have to pay to park his sleigh? No, because it's on the house. No, it's on the house. Get it? It's on the house. See? No one else is laughing, but I'm laughing. So anyways, let's get back to this. So the digital my brain, the digital amplification effect. Social media has transformed our natural social monitoring tendencies into something far more problematic. Good Lord, what is wrong with me? Let me see if coffee helps, okay? Okay, I got a laughy face from Sammy, so hopefully that's for my joke. All right. Let's try this again. The digital amplification effect. Social media has transformed our natural social monitoring tendencies into something far more problematic. With constant opportunities for comparison and the permanent nature of online interactions, our overthinking tendencies have fertile ground to grow. Each notification becomes a potential judgment, each lack of response a possible rejection. This asynchronous, okay, I've never seen this word before. Asynchronous judgment. The asynchronous nature of digital communication creates perfect conditions for rumination. We can review, analyze, and catastrophize at length without resolution. I read that better after having some coffee, and I will tell you, I've never heard of that word, so I tripped over it because asynchronous is something now I have to look up. And that'll probably be a word that if I can fit it into a sentence over the next week, I probably will. So get ready for me to say, oh, well, that is so asynchronous of you. Sammy loves dad jokes too. I know. I'm full of them. There was another joke I'm trying to remember. What do you call a Christmas decoration made of hundreds? Aretha Franklin's. I know, if you don't get that, that's not my fault. But I know her name was Aretha Franklin, but Aretha Franklin's. A wreath of Franklin. But, sorry. So anyways, yeah, social media, wow. Social media, text messaging, emailing, all these different things. They have blown our minds into kind of a different version of paranoia, right? Not for everybody, but for the social overthinker, for the chronic overthinker. If someone doesn't respond but right away, oh my God, they must be mad at me. And then, if they're busy, right? And then, an hour later, you haven't heard back from them. Maybe they're in a meeting. Maybe they're out running, errands for the office. Maybe they're just busy. Okay. And they haven't heard their phone. Maybe their phone's on vibrate. Next thing you know, are you mad at me? That's the next text, right? No response. I'm really sorry for whatever I did. And then they get back to you and go, yo, I was just busy. And then you feel stupid, right? And this is just a bad loop to be in. And I have been in this loop. And then finally, I did the thing earlier, right? Is this a rational thought? Is this an irrational thought? What was the one thing up there that said, is it realistic or rational? I mean, if you did something wrong, you did something wrong. So, you work to fix it, okay? You work to fix it. But if you can't think of what you might have done wrong, and there are times when people might take something wrong, right? Because text messaging and even emailing, well, maybe not so much emailing. I mean, we do have shouty caps, okay? When you go into caps lock, we do have shouty caps, but a lot of times that can be excitement or anger. And it's hard to tell. Unless you are physically talking to somebody on the phone, just, try to not blow it out of proportion. Try to not overthink it too much, because a lot of times it's nothing. I've been through this, and it was really my overthinking that caused a lot of these problems. But my overthinking was also caused by having an unhealed soul, right? That little floof inside of me wasn't healed yet. So people pleaser across the board. And when, there wasn't a fast response, it was kind of like, oh my God, am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? What did I do? And now it's just kind of, I try to be a little more rational about it. I try to be realistic about it and try to think, maybe they're just busy. Now, if they don't get back to me within the day, I think, okay, maybe I'll just text them in the morning. But, for the people that I have been through things with, the people that I'm very close to, I just ask them, look, no matter how much you might think it hurts my feelings, if I have done something, if I have stepped over a line, you need to tell me so I can work on it, so I can heal it, so I can fix it, because I can't fix it if you don't tell me. And it's not always something that we need to fix, right? Sometimes it's something that they may misunderstand. And I think when you get it out in the open faster, in a timely manner, when you have time to talk about it, it's going to resolve itself better than if you hold on to it and let it explode like, a nuclear overthinking bomb. So these are the constructs of overthinking and how they can really kind of blow up your life in a way. Okay, sometimes we just need people to be honest, and we have to be honest with people as well. We have to be people that are willing to stand up to somebody and say, look, I know it's hard, but we're just trying to help you. Because people can get stuck in their brains. People can get stuck in their minds. And it can be debilitating. Even if you don't think you have a mental health issue, it can be debilitating. You don't need to have a mental health issue to have a problem with overthinking. It is something we do. It is something, as this article put into words, is ingrained in our DNA from our ancestors. Right? I mean, I come from Filipinos. I come from Hawaiians. I come from, Europeans. I come from the British Isles. I just, all these people had tribes at one point. You had the Irish Celts. You had the Germanic tribes, the Vikings, right? You had the Filipino, the Asian tribes that just kind of huddled together. You had the Polynesian tribes that all huddled together. Think, Native Americans in a way, where everybody's life depended on the other person. And to be ousted, to be removed from this dynamic is, it's ingrained in us to not want to be. But we know now that sometimes there are situations that might be toxic, and we don't have to deal with that anymore. We can find a new tribe, if you will. I'm going to reference an episode of Bones that I watched. And this one stuck with me because it was so profound, but it was so sad at the same time. And yet it fits perfectly into what we're talking about, into the social dynamics that were kind of just ingrained in our DNA. And the whole thing was, there was this site that, archaeologists had found, because that's basically what they were. They were anthropologists. And they found a man, a woman, and a child. And they were trying to put this whole construct together. How did this, did this man kill this woman? Did they kill the child? Or did the man kill the woman? And, just felt so guilty that he died, and then the child died because nobody was there to take care of him. It turns out they were from two very different backgrounds. One was more, I don't want to say Neanderthal-like, and the other one was more evolved. But they were from two different tribes, and they came together and they had a child. But because they were kind of bucking the system of the social construct, they were ousted. And they could not survive on their own, and they died as a family. And while that was, as we put it together, right, like a couple thousand years later, we put, their whole story together, we realize that this baby has, or this little toddler has the same features of mother and father. And you're like, oh my gosh, this was a family. But this was a family who clearly, started evolving in their own way to show us that, look, you know what, even when it's hard, even when in their case it ended in death, that, we are allowed to be happy. We do not have to follow the herd mentality. We do not have to follow the mentality of something we may not agree with. Now, that doesn't mean you have to oust people from your life. Maybe you just agree not to talk about it. But these are things that cause us to socially overthink. Because, as it said before, we are, it is ingrained in our minds to feel that we need to be a part of something. There is nothing wrong with being a part of a group. There is nothing wrong with being a part of something beautiful, something amazing. being a part of your family. My family and I don't agree on everything, but we sit, and when we meet, at holidays, we have the best times because we don't talk about the things that we don't agree on. On occasion it might come up in little conversations here and there, but we don't fight about it. We just agree to disagree and move forward. But most times we spend time just catching up, talking about really mundane, ridiculous things because we don't want to talk about life. We live life every day. And for a few short hours, on this particular day, we're all together. We're all just having fun. We're drinking, we're enjoying, we're eating, we are making merry. And so, we have to figure out how to stop the social overthinking. How to stop thinking, oh my gosh, that person hasn't texted me back or hasn't emailed me back or hasn't called me back. They hate me. I hate me. That also comes from a lack of self-worth, right? So here are some strategies of breaking free. Number 1, implement the 5-5-5 rule. When caught in a social overthinking spiral, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 hours, 5 days, 5 years? This perspective shift helps recalibrate your emotional response to match the actual significance of the interaction. Number 2, practice intentional thought interruption. The moment you notice overthinking beginning, immediately engage in an absorbing activity requiring concentration. Maybe I need more coffee. Concentration suggests, oh, sorry. All right. You know what? Hold please. Hold please. All right. The moment you notice overthinking beginning, immediately engage in an absorbing activity requiring concentration, suggests cognitive behavioral therapist Maya Johnson. This creates a pattern interrupt that prevents rumination from taking hold. So in case anybody is unclear of what rumination is, it's ruminate, to overthink, to think, right? You're ruminating. It's a fancy word for thinking, but it's true because, and I think the reason I love that word is because it sticks with you, and then when you hear it in a movie, you're like, oh, I know what that word means. So I still have to look up asynchronous, but I think that's what the word was. Anyways, physical activities work particularly well. Try counting backward from 100 by sevens while taking a brief walk. Seriously, I can chew bubble gum and walk, but I'm not sure I could do math and walk. All right. I'd be like, if there would be someone going, are you okay? Because I notice you keep stopping every 7 seconds. I'd be like, what? Be like 93, 86. I'll look like an idiot out there, just like, So anyways, if you can't make fun of yourself, what can you do? Number 3, adopt healthy social media boundaries. Consider implementing designated times for checking platforms, no phone zones in your home, regular digital detoxes, curated feeds that minimize comparison triggers. I'm going to talk about that really quick. Do not compare your life to a social media profile, okay? There are some people who are honest on their social media profiles. There are other people who just post the good stuff, who post the funny stuff, who post the lovely things that we want to see. Or they think we want to see. They don't post the hard stuff. They don't post the tears. They don't post the crying. They may be on a friend's boat going, living the life with a glass of champagne that they might have brought with them, and it's not their boat, but other people might think, wow, they're living their best life. No, they may not be. Or maybe they are, but maybe not in the way that you think. Keep your eyes on your own paper. All right? Because a lot of times what you see on the surface is not what's happening underneath. People always think, oh, wow, but they seem like such a happy family. I'm not making fun of those accounts. I mean, most of the time when I post on social media, I'm just posting the fun days. Whenever somebody sees me posting nope across the board, and depending on how many nopes there are, if it's one nope, just a bad day. If there's a lot of nopes, it means I'm probably with my head buried in the sand. And, but that's my mental health thing. I like to advocate for mental health. And I think when we minimize these triggers, You know, we are going to help ourselves. Find your self-love, find your self-worth, find your self-esteem. These are things I've had to do. These are things I still honestly, truthfully work on. And, you know, I'm not gonna lie to you. I work on these every day because they're hard for me. You know, I mean, I'm getting better. I think I've really kind of nailed down the self-love thing, but self-worth and self-esteem still struggling with a bit, you know. I mean, yeah, it's something I think a lot of us do. So don't, you know, throw away the comparison sheet, okay? Just focus on your own page. Focus on what you like to do. Focus on your thing, your joys, the things that, you know, that you believe in, all right? So number 4, embrace the mental spotlight technique. Most of us overestimate how much others notice or remember our social missteps, a phenomenon psychologists call the spotlight effect. When overthinking begins, remind yourself, people are far more focused on themselves than on judging me. You know, this goes, yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm going to bring up one of the worst things I've ever done in my life. And it's something that older sibling thought was the funniest freaking thing in the world. And this is when I threw a muffin at her, a half-frozen muffin. Okay, she had been out of surgery for just around a month, and she had neck surgery. And I was just so stressed. I was so overwhelmed. I definitely had not even come close to starting to heal yet. In fact, I didn't think I needed to be healed at the time. And the help that we had requested did not help at all. You know, so everything between working or going to work and taking care of her, worrying about her and whatnot, I think it just built into Mount Chalsuvius. And one day she said something and she turned around and I threw the muffin at her. And for God's sakes, I know my father taught me how to throw a ball, but shit, it hit her right in her surgery spot. And it didn't hurt her, but the look on her face was just pure sadness. It still hurts me because I still see her face. And, you know, and so a couple years later, she started telling the story. And this is where the spotlight effect comes on, right? Like, people look at me like, how could you do that? And she's, oh, no, she didn't mean to. And she explained the whole situation. They're like, oh, okay. But I felt like an asshole for the longest time until finally I made peace with it. And I told her, I said, you know, I really am sorry. I really am sorry. And I'm not sure that would have been something I did had I healed already, but I hadn't. And so it was a hurt person hurting somebody else. And it's not an excuse, because clearly not my shining moment. And you're thinking, well, it was a muffin. It was a half-frozen muffin. And sibling actually chuckled. We laughed about this not too long ago because last year, for the first time in about 18 years, I had a chocolate chip muffin. And she's like, you haven't had one since then? I'm like, no. I said, every time I looked at one, I wanted to cry. It was so horrible. It stuck with me. And she's like, you're kidding. And I'm like, no. And she's all, you know, because she's more of a blueberry muffin person, right? I love blueberry muffins, but come on, who doesn't love a chocolate muffin? But even when someone would bring them to work, nope, I would not touch it. And they'd be like, well, we bought it for you. No, it's okay. I'll take blueberry. You know, I eat them now. But yeah, so that's the mental spotlight that we put on ourselves. We overthink things. It was a moment. It was a moment not fueled by anything other than just stress, fatigue, you know, nothing that's excusable, but everything that's understandable in the situation that we were in. And, you know, she forgave me right away. I mean, when she called me, when I left, I was in tears. She called me at work. Are you okay? I mean, she's the one I threw the muffin at, and she's making sure I'm all right. The girl's a saint. But anyways, I know. So anyways, the freedom of imperfection. Perhaps the most powerful antidote to social overthinking is embracing imperfection as not just inevitable, but valuable. Our social fumbles and awkward moments make us relatable and human. Perfect social performance isn't actually the goal, notes relationship researcher Dr. James Liu. Vulnerability and authenticity create deeper connections than social flawlessness ever could. By understanding the evolutionary and cultural forces behind our overthinking tendencies, we can approach them with compassion rather than frustration. With consistent practice of these strategies, we can gradually train our minds to engage more fully in the present moment, where real connection happens, rather than getting lost in the labyrinth of what others might think. So, there you go. There you go. So that's social overthinking. Oh, look who finally decided to join us. I woke her up for this episode. Good morning, older sibling. I woke her up for this episode because she and I are chronic overthinkers, and because of what happened the other day. I didn't share what happened the other day, older sibling, because you weren't on and it wasn't my story to share. What is happening with my mouth today? But I will share one thing. So years and years and years ago, when I first met older sibling, she was a part of another group, another social group. And this social group was kind of domineered by one person who, made herself our unofficial leader. We didn't need a leader. We were a group of friends. We were not we were not a tribe electing officials to guide us, but she took it upon herself to be that person. But she also took it upon herself to throw people under the bus to make herself feel better, look better, and, keep her in charge. Until one day she tried to do that and it blew up literally in her face with an email titled Kaboom. I'm not laughing at that. It was just kind of like, wow. And this kind of, it really split the group. And I was grateful at that point that I had older sibling, but I'm like, crap, these were my first, big group of friends I've had since I moved up one county. And it really kind of just, I don't know. I have enough trouble making friends because I can be very shy in different situations, but once I'm comfortable, I think the me comes out. But and I'm not sure now, but because I have changed over the last year, but I've kind of changed in solitude of sorts, just surrounded by very minimal people. And yeah, she had actually left before the Kaboom email, but it turns out, even though I don't talk to the majority of them who kind of followed her, and it was more because they didn't want to talk to us because they were afraid to talk to us. Like, well, she's going to get mad if she sees me talking to you. What? That's social overthinking. That's somebody so afraid of somebody else and so worried about being kicked out of a group that they literally shut down and will not talk to you because they're afraid to be ousted. But I will say this, still got older sibling, and the friend that sent the Kaboom email all these years later, still one of my best friends. So, but also I realize looking back now how toxic that circle could be. And just because of the things that she did. I'm not saying everybody in it was toxic. I'm not even saying she was, but she had to be in control. And for whatever reason. But I did feel like, oh God, what's going to happen? But I did have older sibling, and that mattered. And I had the Kaboom friend, and that mattered. And another couple. There was a couple that hung out. Excuse me. And stayed friends with them for a very long time. So, the social construct did change, but that's life. We evolve. We move forward. There was a piece that came between us and the person that just kind of kicked us out of the group, like literally kicked us out of the group. You were not invited unless somebody brings you. Who needs friends like that? So, and I think our social constructs do change from time to time. They will evolve. But, if nothing else that we've learned from the last couple of days and the events of this last weekend, life is too short to worry about stupid shit. Okay, life is too short to worry about what other people are doing. Keep your eyes on your own paper, do your own thing, do what you need to do, and hopefully they will see and be inspired by you and follow suit. Or maybe you'll be inspired by them and follow suit. Whatever it is, just live your best life. I know a lot of people don't like that term, living my best life. But living my best life isn't sitting on a boat, drinking champagne, pretending to be happy. It is literally just going out there and manifesting, wow, it'd be great to know a person with a boat, and then literally living your best life without having to fake it for social media. Do what you need to do for yourself to bring yourself joy, because when you are happy, it exudes to those around you. You are pouring from a full cup. And when we social overthink, it drains our cup. Like there's a crack at the bottom, right? And we deserve better. We truly deserve better. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. No idea what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but it's funny because I'm ending and it's 9/12, and that is the time, or that is the date that my mother passed away, was 9/12. And whenever I see that or the time that she died, I always know she's sitting there going, ding, 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 you know, or just visiting. But my mother said all these things to me, you know, you don't need people like that. You don't need to, don't be a follower. You know, she's always tell me, you have leader qualities. Don't be a follower. I don't want to be a leader. I just want to engage as a whole with a group of people who, you know, bring me joy and who I hopefully bring joy back to. So yeah, I really feel like my mom said, ding, ding, hit the nail on the head, kid. You finally got it. Ah, her work here is done. No, keep visiting. But anyways, again, have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll see everybody back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelley Ray Lucas. You can also find me on YouTube and across the social media board, but everything comes from YouTube. So please, if you're clicking on that video, feel free to click like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Like I said, eventually when I get all this stuff down, I will have a camera that puts me horizontal as opposed to just that vertical slat in the middle of your screen. So have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Oh, sorry. I just saw the messages was coming through. Hi, bye, bestie.